What's up guys, John here. Over the last 11 years, I've owned 15 properties valued at almost $6 million at its peak. I kind of regret it. Made some money, lost some. I've made so much money on this property, over $200,000. All right, so let's talk numbers. Now this story is very interesting because I was expecting to get $50,000 in profit and I ended up losing almost $70,000 on this deal. Eventually the property ended up more than doubling. I'm ready to move on. And in this video, I'm gonna go through every single property. Property number 1, property number 2, property number 3, property number 12, property number 13. What my thought process was, how much I bought it, what my strategy was, my down payment, how much I sold it for, and what's the value of the property as of today. I'm gonna go through and let you know the lessons I've learned and how you can learn from it as well. So here are 3 tips that can help you with your real estate journey. I'm gonna share why I'm selling, my strategy, and what's coming up next. I'm done with real estate. I'm ready to move on. So make sure you stay till the end. What's up guys, I'm John and welcome to my channel. On this channel, we talk about all things personal finance, real estate, lifestyle content, anything and everything to help educate and inspire you to be the better version of yourself and to get you closer to achieving financial freedom, to live life on your own terms because you deserve it. So let's get right into it. Property number 1, this was my very first property here in Texas. I bought it for $185,000. Now it's worth about $300,000, but I sold it for $259,000. So I made a good profit of $74,000. I kept it for 4 years. I bought it as a primary. So I actually lived here for 2 years. I was able to walk away with the $74,000 without paying any taxes. And that was awesome. Let's move on to the next. Now, I love this community because it's a gem. Nobody knows about it. It's located just 5 minutes from the airport, 5 minutes from major medical centers. So it's great for rental because you have a lot of people from the airline industry, pilots, and nurses for the medical industry. So it's a great rental opportunity. Now there's only 84 townhomes here made up of 3 bedrooms and 2-bedroom townhomes. And guess what? 7 of these townhomes I owned and 13 of them were owned by another guy. So between the 2 of us, we had about 25% of that community. It's insane. It's crazy. And I'll talk about the strategy and what I was thinking about, but things happened that I needed to sell, and we're going to get into it right now. Nwofor, property number 2. 2206, property number 3. Now let's keep going. 2209, property number 5. Let's keep going. 2224, property number 6. Let's keep going. Property number 7. Property number 83106. So that's pretty much it for this neighborhood. So let's talk about the details now. All right, so let's talk numbers. So the first property I bought was in 2018. It was for $185,000 and I put down 20% down. And I was able to do that because I sold the other house. So that was a lot easier. But the interesting thing is my strategy initially was because of the location, I wanted to do Airbnb. So I started Airbnb and I was making a lot of money. The traditional rental would be about $2,000, but I was making almost $3,000, $3,500 to $3,900 sometimes. So that was really good and it was great cash flow. But the problem was the HOA. The HOA came in and told me I was not able to do it, so I had to stop. So I stopped and switched it to a traditional rental, and then from there I decided to sell the property. So a friend of mine wanted to buy the property. I sold it and I made a profit of $37,000. So from $185,000 I sold it for $222,000. So that was it. But the interesting thing was that I ended up buying it back again from her, and the reason why is I'm going to explain in a few minutes, was because I wanted to buy all the properties I could in the neighborhood, and I'll tell you why. So I bought the property back again, and eventually I ended up selling it several years down in 2023 for $312,000. So that's just to let you know that it's crazy. It started at $185,000 and at its peak when I sold it after buying it again, it was $312,000. So the beauty of real estate is you can make a lot of money if you know what you're doing. Now let's backtrack and talk about the reason why I bought it back again. Now the reason why I bought it again is because I wanted to do a new strategy. Basically in residential, the value of your house is based on comps, right? So if you own a house, it's worth $200,000 when you bought it, and the house next door sells for $300,000 and it's similar to yours, then your house is worth $300,000. So then I started thinking to myself and I'm like, well, what if I owned the comps? So I decided to buy all the properties I could, and that's the reason why I ended up with 7 properties in this community, because my plan was, let's say if I buy all the properties for $300,000 on average, and then I was able to sell one of them to a friend, to whoever, for let's say $500,000 or even $400,000 or whatever, then guess what? One property sells for $400,000. As a result of that, that becomes the comps of the other properties. So what's going to happen is if I were to refinance or if I were to sell those properties, all my other properties are going to be worth 400, not 300. And as a result, I've basically took control of the comps, and that has made me money. So basically life happens. I went through a divorce, so I needed to liquidate a couple of assets, and I decided to sell some of these properties. And as a result, the initial plan kind of fell apart, and it's okay. Life happens. I'm not going to trip. You just have to pick up wherever you're at. Because of this, I decided to sell the properties and just re-strategize and do something different. So I sold most of the property. I broke even for the majority of them. There's one that actually made about $30,000. I bought it for $320,000. I rented it for just a few months. The lady trashed the place, and after that I'm like, I'm not doing this. He sold the property and I was able to get $30,000 in profit, and that was great. I still owned a couple properties, 2 properties that I own here. The rent, like I mentioned, is about $2,100, but it depends on the tenants that you have. So I have a lady that's been there for a minute. She came in at $2,300, so she's been there ever since, and I've just increased the rent to $2,400. Now it's $2,500, but the market keeps going up and down. So the new tenants that came into the other property are paying $2,000. So one is paying $2,500, the other one is paying $2,000, and they're both 3 bedrooms. So I hope they don't talk to each other, but that's basically what it is. And I'm not going to change the rent. So I'm collecting about $4,500 between the 2 of them, and I'm breaking even. It's able to pay everything, and our cash flow maybe $600 between the 2. So it's not really much. So the cash flow doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be rich and be able to retire off of that. You're going to need a lot of properties to retire on this amount of cash flow. So for me, I'm aiming on investing for the appreciation and other things, and we're going to talk about it in the next part. Quick side note, I forgot to mention, so most of the properties that I have, I bought it for $350,000. So the down payment was 20%. So that's $70,000 on one property that I still own. The other one was $350,000 as well. That was 20%, and that's $70,000 again that I still own. The other ones that I paid and broke even were about $350,000, $320,000, and $350,000, where I made the extra $30,000 in profit. So that's basically the average. The very first one was $185,000. At its peak, it was $312,000, and then the other ones are about $350,000 on average. But the market goes up and down. So right now they're pretty much down, and I'm upset because I can't sell. If I do, I'm going to sell at a loss. So I'm holding on to it. Maybe till next year, I'm going to see how the market does, because right now it's about low 300s, but I bought it at $350,000. So do I want to sell and lose all my deposit, or do I want to hold on to it and then sell later when the market gets better? So I'm just going to wait. If you made it this far into the video and you're still with me, make sure you comment. Let's go. Now let's get back to it. Property number 9, it was for $324,000, put down 5%, had the property for 5 years, turned it into an investment property. I was able to rent it for about $2,400 a month. I was breaking even. I didn't have any expenses coming out my pocket, but again, repairs and all that stuff ended up costing me a lot. So I decided to just sell the property. I sold the property in 2021 for $350,000. I barely made any money on this. I made about $9,000 after closing costs, and I decided to just deploy my money somewhere else, and that was it.
Something I can't find, no. Something I can't find, no. It's okay to begin again. It's alright,
yeah. Property number 10. Property number 11. All right, guys, so in this community I ended up buying 2 properties. That was back in 2021. The community, as you can see, is gated, is beautiful, is made up of a bunch of townhomes. It does come with a pool. It has parking space, only 1 parking space per unit. That's the only caveat. However, the location looks beautiful and all that. It's safe, it feels safe. However, it's near some really shady businesses. So I'm not gonna say shady, but it's like, it's next to Harry Hines, which is one street that's known for, let's not get into it, but it has liquor, smoke pot, and all those little motels and stuff like that. So there's questionable behaviors around the area, and that's probably why the price was low where we purchased it. So again, the first property, I bought it in October 2021, and the property was for 130. That was more like a flip, so I decided to just buy the property, just fix it up. And because it's a lower end property, I ended up just fixing it for nothing, like maybe $8,000, $9,000. And I was able to fix it up, and a few months after I was able to sell it, and I made a profit. I sold it for 160, and again I bought it for 130, sold it for 160, and ended up putting just 8,000 into the property. I had some problems along the way. Even the fire marshal ended up coming over there because there was smoke in the property because of the AC system. However, we were able to resolve the issue and sell the property and move on with the next. The other property that I have in the same community, bought in August 2021, that was purchased for 141,000. Ended up putting 30% down, and with that I was able to kind of remodel the property, get it up to par so I could get it rented. So I ended up keeping the property for a few years, rented it out. The rent on this property was about $1,600 per month. That basically covered all the expenses. The only issue and caveat I would say when you buy a condo is the HOA fees. The HOA fees, you cannot control it. The community is great because it's gated, because you have, you know, on-site washer dryer, you have a pool. However, it's expensive and that eats into your profit. So I wanted to get out of it. So eventually I was able to sell the property for 159,000. So I got in at 141 and sold it at 159. I pretty much just broke even. I got all the money that I had invested into it, and also closing costs and everything. So that's pretty much the story with these 2 condos. I definitely will never buy condos again. Property number 12. So I bought this property September 2018 for $450,000. I put down 5%, so it was a primary at the time. 5% down was about $22,000 plus closing costs. Bought it brand new from the builder. The community was brand new. There was nobody living there. It's probably 1 or 2 houses on the street. It was definitely worth a steal because eventually the property ended up more than doubling. At its peak, it was about $950,000. And one of the things that I love to do is I love to remodel the backyards. I always want to have turf, so I ended up remodeling the backyard. I made some tweaks inside the house as well, but you can see it's 3,500 square foot, very spacious, 4-bedroom, 3 full bath. And I mean, it's a beautiful property, but again, life happens. I went through a divorce and ended up just splitting part ways. But to state my point, real estate can make you a lot of money if you play your cards right. The neighborhood was growing, it's still growing. It was the country road just going into the neighborhood, and now they're changing the streets to a 6-lane, massive development coming up this way. For people who want to invest, don't be discouraged. There's definitely potential. You can make a lot of money when it comes to real estate, but sometimes it's luck, because I have to say, like, I knew things were coming, but I didn't necessarily know it was going to be like that. Now the market has dropped, so the property is not at this point anymore. It's about 800-ish, but nevertheless, from where it was purchased to where it is now, it's incredible. So that's one of the things I wanted to say. Don't be afraid to invest. Just make sure you're not tight. You don't put all your money into one property and then you end up being house poor. You don't want to do that. Property number 13. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this one hurts a little bit because I did put a lot of money into this property and I actually lost some money. Obviously, people live out there, so I gotta give them some privacy, but let's dive into the story, the numbers, so you know what's going on with this one. Whew. Now, after all that running around, I was hungry. I needed to make a quick stop, so let's see what's around. All right, so let's talk numbers. Now, this story is very interesting because I was expecting to get $50,000 in profit and I ended up losing almost $70,000 on this deal. So you want to hear this. So what happened is I'm a real estate agent, so I deal with real estate all the time and I meet builders all the time. So this property was from a builder. They had similar property selling in the 700s, and the one next door sold for 725. So I was able to negotiate, talk to the builder. I'm like, hey, I already brought you some clients here. Go ahead and hook me up. And I was able to get it for $675 because they were closing out the neighborhood, right? So I got it for $675 and I was supposed to put just 5% down. But here's the catch, and this is one of the tips I'm going to give you. If you're investing in real estate and you're going to be doing it a lot, it might be beneficial for you to get your real estate license. So that being said, I had my real estate license, and on this specific house, the commission was 4%. So think about it. If I'm buying it and I'm putting 5% down and the commission is 4%, it's only costing me 1% to get this property. So now it's listed for $675. At least I negotiated it down to $675. So really out of pocket is going to be $6,750 is what's going to cost me, plus closing costs. And I was able to talk to the builder to also get incentives for closing costs. So it really was just costing me very small. But my plan was to buy it as a primary because I've been buying so many investment properties. I wanted to put the least amount of cash into this property and try to flip it after a year or two, right? So I bought it for $675. The comp next door was $725. So I was feeling good. I thought I was going to stay there for a few years or whatnot. My mortgage payment was about $4,700 and something. And it was just me staying at the property, and I had my son every now and then. So I invested and I tried to make it like a home. I repainted the property, and the side yard, I ended up turning it into turf. And that's a whole different story because I got messed up with that and I had to change contractors. But the end result was beautiful. I loved the property. I ended up putting this mini golf thing, and it was just great. I loved it. However, life happened, and the problem I was having was liquidity problems, right? So basically, I had my money tied up in too many damn houses, and that's one thing you got to be very careful of if you're going to be investing. You don't want to be equity rich but cash poor, because that is the worst feeling ever. If any of your properties are not, bringing in any money, your tenants are not paying, and you have to cover the mortgage, you're going to be out of pocket, out of cash very quickly. So liquidity when it comes to investing is very important. All right, make sure you always have cash handy. And I made that mistake, and I'm honest, like I'm learning along the way. I made the mistake and I wasn't liquid, and I wanted to sell the property, and I was trying to just cash out whatever deposit I had initially. And also I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I can just rent it out. But the problem was I wasn't able to get any rent for $5,000. The closest rent I could get for that property at the time was about $3,500. So long story short, I needed to sell it because it was costing me too much. I needed to relocate and move, and I was paying almost $5,000 a month, and I didn't want to keep paying $1,500 on top of the rent if I rented it for $3,500. So basically I listed it for $725, and someone came in at $710 for an offer, and I accepted it because I was still going to make money. So the problem is we're under contract, and the parents came in and they pretty much just discouraged the guy to buy the house, and I was very upset. So that one fell off. Then I started having all these low offer for $650 or whatnot. I was pissed. I was like, no, I'm not having it. I bought it for $675, and I already put almost $30,000 in the house. So I was trying to break even at $700. Now, tell me why I dropped it all the way down to $670, $650, $640, and finally I got it under contract at $635, and that's what I sold it as. So I bought it for $675. I put in already $30,000, so I was at $705 all in, and I ended up selling it at $635. That was a big ass loss, and I excuse my language, but I was pissed. But in the game of real estate, sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes you're gonna lose. So this was definitely a hard lesson to swallow, and I've learned my lesson, and it's not gonna happen again. Next one. Oh, and guess what? The neighborhood is right behind me, and this area has been growing like crazy. Now the value of the property is about $750. Guess what? I'm pissed as hell, but it's a lesson learned. Sometimes you gotta hold, and sometimes you gotta fold. It is what it is. Here we are in my favorite neighborhood, property number 14. Now, this one is one of my love stories because I've made so much money on this property, over $200,000. I bought this property for $357,000. I put 20% down, which was about $71,000 to $72,000, and I ended up keeping the property from December 2020 till today. I still own the property, and the market at its peak was about $560. Now, in the community, they're still selling some properties at $600, but the market is a bit down, so it went down. But nevertheless, it's a beautiful story. I'm super excited about this one. I'm gonna hang on to it for a long time, and the reason is because the neighborhood is amazing. I mean, it has a park, it has a dog trail, you can kind of jog if you want. As many of you know, the real estate market has been kind of iffy lately, so the price has gone down, so it's about 510, 505 or whatnot. I'm just not gonna sell it. My sister bought a property in this neighborhood also. She bought it for $350, she sold it at $550, so she was smart. She cashed out real good, and for me, I'm just gonna wait. I'm hoping to hold on to it until 600, and after that, I'm just gonna cash out, move on to something else. If I get it at 600, that would be $250,000 profit and appreciation. That would be insane, but that's another story. That being said, the neighborhood is beautiful. It's literally close to so many amenities, so many restaurants. It has Best Buy, it has Ross, it has Target. I mean, it's beautiful. There's so much to do, and that's the reason why this place gets rented out so much. Every time I put it for rent, it's gonna be rented out. Now I'm collecting about $3,400 a month. My mortgage is about $2,900 or so I'm positive. Now, I'm not making too much money in terms of cash flow, but I'm not too worried about it because I'm banking on the appreciation as of now. So once I get a chance, I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna take that money out, and I'm gonna go on to something else. And that's the beauty of real estate. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but when you lose, it really sucks. And the last one, property number 15. Let's go. Now, this property, I actually bought this back in August 2024, so last year, for $375, and I actually put 5% down. So I bought this property with the intent to actually live in it. So I moved into the property, everything was all good. And this is one thing I was going to point out. If you want to get started in real estate and you don't have that much money, you can buy a property as a primary and then turn it into an investment property afterwards. But you want to make sure that if you're doing an FHA, you're going to stay in the property for at least a year. If you're doing a conventional loan, it's a different story. So I did a conventional loan. I got it for 5% down, which was about $19,000 plus closing costs. I bought the property, I stayed and moved into the property, and then eventually I decided to just move out and then turn it into an Airbnb. So my mortgage payment on this tiny house is extremely high at $3,713, and that's because the interest rate is extremely high. I got it at 7.875%, and that's because I bought it last year at the peak, but I knew that the purchasing price was better than anything I could get, so I decided to just jump on it. And I know by next year, with everything that's coming around, it's going to be worth about, let's say, high to low 400. So I'm thinking about 440, 450, right? And that's because Universal Studio is coming. The Omni Hotel Golf Resort is already there. The PGA Golf Tournament is going to be there. So there's so much stuff coming, and Frisco is booming. So everybody is going to start looking at the city nearby, and that's one of the cities that I'm in. So I'm excited and I cannot wait. So for now, if you have a traditional rental on this property, I can probably get $2,000 to $2,100. But with the normal interest rate, the average payment should have been about $2,600. And keep in mind, Airbnb will bring about $4,000 a month on average, but on a very good month, I could get as much as $6,000. So if you think about it this way, if I have it at $2,600 when I refinance, that's about $1,400 profit. And if I have a really good month at $6,000, that's even more. So I'm excited for the future and what's to come. But also, you have to keep in mind, Universal Studio is coming. So that's going to drive traffic. And as a result of that, I'm going to be able to up the price per night. So I'm excited about it because my reviews are all 5 stars. Everybody loves it when they come here. We make sure to take care of the property, treat it nice, make it clean. And that's the reason why we're getting all the reviews and getting all the bookings. So make sure you take care of your property, because in return, you're going to get the money that you've been looking for. So here are 3 tips that can help you with your real estate journey, and I can summarize them in 3 words: commission, liquidity, and leverage. So number 1, commission. If you're going to be investing in real estate, you know you're going to be buying more than just one property, you might as well get your real estate license. It's a process to get, but it's going to be worth it if you're going to be buying more than one property, because each and every time you're going to be paid a commission. Number 2, liquidity. The goal is to have as many properties. That's what all the gurus are saying, but be very careful, because you don't want to be house rich but cash poor. You don't want all your money tied up in a property. It's very illiquid liquid to sell a property. If you need cash, it's going to take you time to sell the property to get your money back. So make sure you don't tie all your money into a property because you're going to need that cash. And finally, number 3, leverage. You want to make sure that you don't over leverage yourself. Do not bite where you can't chew. It's not because you've been pre-approved for $500,000 that you should buy a property for $500,000. Know your numbers, make sure it makes sense. The one thing I want to point out is if you're going to be investing in real estate and you're going to have multiple properties, the last thing you want to do is to be over leveraged and you have no cash. The reason is because if you have 10 properties and 3 of the tenants are not paying, you're screwed. You're not going to have enough liquidity or enough cash reserve to be able to cover the mortgages. So it's very important to make sure you do not over leverage yourself and put yourself in a situation that could mess you up. Those are 3 tips that helped me along my journey, and I hope it helps you as well. I just turned 40 a few weeks ago, and over the last couple of weeks I've been thinking a lot about the gurus talking about I have 110 doors, and I was always motivated by that, thinking that that was the definition of success. The more properties you had, the more successful you were. And I realized that that's not the case, at least for me. My definition of success is, do I have peace? Do I have the time to do what I want to do? Do I have the freedom to go where I want to go without the pressure of work or any other commitments? And that's when I realized that, you know what, I have all these properties that are somewhat making me money. I'm losing here, I'm making here, and am I comfortable? You know, I don't want to get a call telling me I should come fix the toilet. I don't want no stress. In essence, yes, I'm done with real estate. I'm ready to move on. And I want people to understand one thing. Real estate is not a bad thing because you can make some money in it. I'm moving on primarily for the fact that I want peace of mind and I want my time back and I want to be able to do the things that I want to do. I'm at a point where I just want to be comfortable. And I think I've invested in real estate enough to be able to get a nest egg that's going to put me in a position where I have no stress, nothing to really worry about per se. I don't care what other people are doing. And I think that most people should have that attitude where it's like, focus on you, do what makes you happy and don't worry about other people. And that's just what it is. So let me know your thoughts. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. There's more to life than just working a 9 to 5. And I tell them I'm actually more busy being an entrepreneur, finding my passion, going after my goals and my dreams and my passion than I was when I was working. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you all. Stay safe, be safe. See you in the next video.